Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and with Corey. And
Hello, everyone.
we're broadcasting live on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley and from CIVL on the unceded territory of the Stolo Nation. We're here every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 o'clock Pacific time. And every week we have a different discussion topic. And sometimes we even have folks on that we interview about topics under the umbrella of metaphysics and spirituality. And tonight is no exception. We have a great show planned. And actually what we're going to talk about this evening on the show is how to remember your past lives.
Oh boy. I'm excited.
Yeah. So I think we may as well just get started straight into that. And I'll just explain the format of the show. Usually what we do is we have the discussion topic at the beginning of the show. And then as the show progresses into the second or third segment, we actually open up the phone lines for listeners to phone in live and ask their questions. And we also live stream on our Facebook group, which is Awaken Your Psychic Abilities Facebook group. And so I'm going to read out the phone number just for those of you who are listening on air. The number is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And once again, that number is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And so you can, we'll open the phone lines in about 20 to 30 minutes from now for you to call in live with your questions. But first of all, let's get started with tonight's show topic. And like I said, it's going to be how to remember your past lives. Because whoever you are, you do have past lives. Every single human being has past lives. We are eternal beings and we create in multiple realities. And you definitely have got other lifetimes on Earth. And as well as other lifetimes in other worlds, in other realities, and also at different levels of density. So the Earth plane is a very dense reality, but there are other realities at higher vibrational frequencies as well. So all of these experiences, which belong to you and part of your soul experience, are stored in your Akashic record. And that's your personal repository of all of your soul's experiences throughout time and space and frequency band. So, given that we all have got past lifetimes, why can't you remember them? So let me explain at least my perspective on usually why we don't remember our past lives. You're infinite, and each lifetime that you have is finite. And your current body personality only has the capacity to contain a certain amount of your energy and your experience. If you tried to fit all of your eternal multidimensional nature into this body personality that you're sitting in right now, basically it would explode. There would just be way too much energy, way too much information. So basically what you are is a projection of consciousness, an aspect of consciousness that projects forward from that eternal multidimensional self. And you're focusing your consciousness exclusively on this physical experience in this physical body. And it's kind of necessary for you to do that and have that very specific focus in order to live out your life plan this lifetime. And because just imagine, if you had thousands of lifetimes all streaming in through your consciousness, it would be very, very difficult for you to focus on right here, right now. And so basically, you're here to take the advantage of being really focused and having the experience of being separated from that greater aspect of who you are. Encased in this vehicle, in this mantle of physical matter, and taking advantage of the opportunity to operate through time and space and under the law of cause and effect and free will. So most of the time, we don't remember our past lives. However, sometimes we do. And I want to talk about two different ways of remembering your past lives. And one is it happening kind of unconsciously and by surprise. And the other is remembering your past lives consciously. And really, that's what I want to talk about mostly on tonight's show. So it's definitely possible for you to remember your past lives. And sometimes it happens spontaneously for people, especially children, who are really, really young. They're still connected with perhaps a previous life and with that higher spiritual reality. But it can happen for people whether they're spiritually focused or not. But often those memories will fade over time or remain just a strange anomaly or a strange curiosity for somebody. There's a free ebook on the website actually that you can download from the homepage of drlesliephillips.com. And it's called something like Past Lives Revealed. And in that ebook, I've got there's a whole section talking about top 10 clues to know if you were here before. And these are some of these examples of things that can sort of happen almost accidentally. And I'm going to just quickly read them out, and then we're going to focus more on some tips on how to consciously recall your past lives. So oftentimes people will have a dream that they remember where they were in another time-space reality, or they visit an unfamiliar place but it feels familiar, or they meet somebody new and it feels like an old friend. Childhood memories, like I just mentioned, irrational fears, fear of heights or fear of water or something like that, that can have its origins in a past life. Inexplicable crushes, a celebrity crush, and, maybe that's someone you knew in a past life. Unexplicable knowledge of other cultures, waking visions of bygone eras, impulses to act sort of out of character or in a peculiar way that doesn't fit in with the culture that you're in. Or sort of deja vu or feeling like you hit replay. So if you want more information about those things, go to drlesliephillips.com and sign up for the newsletter if you haven't done already, because you'll get a free ebook all about past lives that goes into much more depth about those things. But today, I really want to focus on what it takes to consciously recall your past lives, rather than waiting to have an accidental experience. And in one sense, this does happen naturally as you begin to awaken to your multidimensional nature. And as you open to your intuitive abilities. Because as that happens, you kind of have a window into other aspects of your multidimensional self and a perspective on how each of those parts relates to you in the here and now. It gives you a glimpse into the larger agenda of your soul. And this can be accelerated. This process can be accelerated by you committing to your spiritual awakening and following guidance on how to do that. So here's my top 10 tips for consciously remembering your past lives. And the first one is leave your ego behind. Leave your ego behind. Because one of the dangers of past life recall is that your ego will take a trip on its self-importance. Because what if you discover you were a famous person? What if you discover that you were just this amazing person that accomplished enormous things? Or it can become invalidated, because what if you discover that you were a horrendous, cruel, evil tyrant? And in actual fact, we've all had both positive and negative experience. We've all been the perpetrators of loving actions and evil. As part of the human experience is to be embedded in duality and embedded in these extremes of experience in order to expand and grow. So you need a sense of perspective and neutrality to deal with this kind of information, so that as you awaken to your past lives and you see that you were Mahatma Gandhi and Hitler, just using two extreme examples that they're not the same soul, but you know that it's not gonna make you really, up on yourself, and it's not going to make you really down on yourself either, but you're just neutral. And so here's tip number 2. Let go of any skepticism. So if you were raised to be logical and scientific, or you were raised in a particular religious belief system where reincarnation was denied, where it wasn't believed in, then you'll need to reprogram your beliefs before you can access the past life information. Because if you don't believe it, you're not going to see it. If you don't acknowledge it, it's not going to be something that comes into your reality. And also clear out concerns over those people who are part of your group, who might judge you or laugh at you for holding beliefs in reincarnation. So if you don't deprogram your beliefs, then it's possible that your intellect will block your past life recall and cause you to doubt any glimmer of past life recall that begins to enter your conscious mind. So that's tip number 2. And tip number 3 is find a way to bypass your intellect. I mean, it's kind of related to the last one, but your intellect is really powerful. And there's various ways that you can learn how to override it. But one of the easiest ways, if you're a beginner at this, is actually to pay attention to your dream reality. Because when you're asleep at night and when you're dreaming, your intellect isn't engaged. You're automatically bypassing the intellect in that state. So if you start a dream journal and really commit to it and focus on it and start writing down your dreams as soon as you wake up, even set the intention before you go to sleep that you'd like to incubate a dream about a past life, then this will help you to actually start having a dream recall that relates to your past lives. So find a way, like doing dream work, to help bypass your intellect. And also, I mean, a lot of these tips are interrelated. The next one, number 4, is operate consciously as spirit. And what do I mean by that? Well, most humans don't operate consciously as spirit. Most humans are embedded in the body levels of the logical mind, which we just spoke about, the lower emotions, and the sex drive. And, this is a sort of unconscious focus on the animal nature of being human that keep them focused, in a 3D sense and in a lower 3 chakra perspective, and unaware of the higher self. But if you can gain seniority as spirit, and open your spiritual awareness and open your intuition and your psychic abilities, then you can start to experience your multidimensional self. So learn how to operate consciously as spirit from within the physical body. Tip number 5, and this is kind of already what I'm talking about, develop yourself. And meditation is a fantastic way to gain seniority as spirit and to develop yourself. You can use meditation can help you to heal yourself of lower vibrations. It can help you to overcome your limits. And if you commit to a regular meditation practice especially one that actively focuses on doing the healing work and developing your conscious awareness, then your intuition will open and you will be able to use it to tune into your past life record if that's what you would like to do. All right, and here's another tip. Practice visualization. So by doing a visualization or listening to a guided visualization, you can direct your conscious awareness into being able to perceive your past lifetimes. Just like in the dream work, it's a great way to bypass the intellect. If it might feel like you're using your imagination, but actually you're exploring the inner planes and dimensions of your own psyche. So if you're interested in this, by the way, we did do a recent workshop. We'd been doing a series of workshops called Akashic Adventures, and we did one on past lives, and we took the group on 3 different journeys into their past lives, and that's available on our website, drlesliephillips.com/workshops, and that's available for you to look at as well. All right, now tip number 7, travel to other realities. And as your spiritual development progresses, you may learn how to consciously astral travel. And this is a bit more of an advanced practice, but a natural progression from dream work to enter a lucid state within your dreams, within the outer body state, and then be able to consciously guide your astral body and visit your past lifetimes that way. So unlike the physical body, which is bound by time and space, your physical body is always right here, right now. It can't go in the past, it can't go in the future, it can't instantaneously bilocate to Hawaii unless you're an amazing spiritual master. But the astral body can. The astral body isn't bound by time and space. It can be any time, any place, anywhere. And so that's a vehicle that you can use in explorations of past lifetimes. And then here we go. Tip number 8, just 3 more to go. Tip number 8, past life readings. So you might receive a past life reading from an experienced clairvoyant. And if the information that they bring forward resonates with you, then this will add to your conscious recognition of your past lives. And as your own psychic development progresses, you can actually learn to read your own past lives. So you actually don't need to go to anybody else in order to get that information. So you can learn to use your own third eye and other intuitive abilities to observe your own past incarnations. And tip number 8, hypnotherapy. So if you are not confident right now that you have the experience or the discipline to meditate or ability to visualize or use your own psychic abilities, but you still want to have a very direct experience of your past lives so that you can internally validate them for yourself, then you might want to do a past life regression by allowing a hypnotherapist to guide you through an experience of some of your past lives. So that's also an option. And then finally, and this is another just easy way to go about it in the beginning, is ask your body. And what do I mean by that? So these are methods that are accessible by most people as a first step or a technique that will help you to ask questions and validate the answers through. So what I'm talking about here is things like psychometry or kinesiology. So an example would be to use a pendulum and ask simple yes/no answers of the pendulum. Do I have a lifetime in ancient Egypt? And perhaps if the pendulum goes round in a circle, the answer is yes. Or if it swings from side to side, the answer is no. And then what era of ancient Egypt, between which, this date or that date. And you can start to drill down using a yes/no answer technique in a pendulum. Or muscle testing. If you've got a friend, a willing partner willing to work with you, you could use muscle testing to ask yes/no questions. So that's my top 10 tips to start to consciously recall your past lifetimes. And, I'll just maybe finish this section of the show with a note of encouragement because, if I think back over my own journey, I mean, nowadays I probably read past lifetimes for people every single day of my life. But, years and years ago, that wasn't the case. I remember the very first time I remembered one of my past lives was through a dream experience that got me curious, got me believing in past lives, and got me curious to start pursuing my own psychic development and my own spiritual development. And since then, and as that opened up, I've remembered hundreds of my own past lives, and I've read thousands of past lives for other people. And I'm not really saying this to sort of tout my own horn, but really just to say, I don't think your journey is that different than my journey. And really what it takes is a strong desire to do this work and a commitment to focus on practicing and developing yourself. Because it's your clairvoyance and your intuitive abilities, they're like any other muscle, really. If you spend time every day in meditation and focusing on developing it, then it will develop and it will open up, But if you don't, then these types of experiences might be just something that are a little bit more random. So, listeners, you are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey, and tonight's show is about past lives, and specifically, how can you go about recalling your past lives? And we went through the top 10 tips or ideas for how to get started with that. We're going to be back after these messages. And actually, when we come back, we will be taking your questions. And so, listeners, if you are tuning in to 101.7 FM, or if you're live streaming from CIVL, you can call in on 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And once again, the number is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. You can also email info@drlesliephillips.com to send questions in for the show. And if you are watching us from our Facebook group, Awaken Your Psychic Abilities, then you can type your questions in the chat box. We will be back, listeners, after these few short messages. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. And we are broadcasting live on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley on CIVL. And on tonight's show, we were talking about past lives. And
we still are.
And we still are. How to recall your past lives. And now we've got the time for questions.
Yes, we got questions. It's interesting. I love past lives. I've done some past life regression stuff. And I think it's one of the neatest thing in the whole metaphysical realm. So we have a couple of people watching on Facebook, and one of them, Belinda, would like to know, I've offered a free mini reading, so she's jumping in on that, and so is Christine, but Belinda was in first. She says, thank you. I'm stepping into my path, and I'm starting to remember my gifts as they are opening, working on releasing my rational and logical thinking and trusting what I hear. So she's looking for a quick reading on that.
Okay, a mini past life reading for Belinda. All right, let's do.
And I presume how that reflects to her life today.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Because the way I do past life readings is that we want it to make sense to your current lifetime. So it's not necessarily for entertainment, it's actually for spiritual growth. So we want to bring forward information that relates to you as you are now. So I'm just going to quickly go into trance and tune into Belinda's energy. And usually what I like to do is just orient myself and take a little look at the main spiritual growth cycle in present time. And I would just validate actually what you told us about yourself, Belinda. It looks like the main spiritual growth cycle is about you getting your energy, your gifts, your own information flowing effortlessly through this particular body. And it looks to me like you're actually quite aware of how much information and power and energy that you have. It's just how to get that coming through the body. And I'm just seeing you looking at it and sort of like, how do I integrate this? How do I integrate it so that I know it, so that I'm operating from it? So that's what the main spiritual growth cycle is. And let's see if there's anything else to say about that. Well, it also looks like you're working on believing in yourself, because I see you looking at this and in the one hand seeing it and on the other hand not believing it. So it's like you get a glimpse of yourself and your capability, and then you go, no, surely it can't be like that. Surely not. And that actually is one of the things that's preventing you from integrating it. Is so you're working on believing in what you're seeing about yourself first, and then of course using your gifts to see others and believe it and have confidence in it. So let's take a look at the past lives. And actually, it interestingly enough, it looks like there's a little region of lifetimes, a little cluster of lifetimes near at one end of your past life timeline. And so these are recent lifetimes, and it looks like there's some kind of karmic imprint that you're wanting to free yourself from. So we're going to look at one of the past lives in that cluster, but there's a few of them. There's not just one, but we'll look at the one that lights up the brightest for us to explore. And it looks like it's the Victorian era. You know, that era in history when they first invented the penny farthing bicycle and those kind of things?
What's a penny farthing
It's that one with the
bicycle?
big giant wheel at the back and the little wheel at the front. That's what I'm seeing as a symbol to get into the past life. And so I'm seeing you be in a male body, actually. And actually, what I'm actually seeing you be a kind of an ideas man. We might call an inventor, actually. Somebody who has plans and ideas and is looking for backing, looking for backers, people to invest in his ideas so that he can make the inventions. And I'm seeing that you were really a really good designer, inventor. I haven't seen yet what it is that you're inventing, but I'll look at that in a minute. But I'm seeing what the main barrier was, again, is like believing in yourself, because it looks like you got into these meetings with potential investors and all of a sudden became very self-conscious and sort of weren't able to fully do justice for your ideas because of that self-consciousness. And also it looks like you had a little bit of thing about being fearful of authority. And especially in that era, you know, it was very much the class structure. And so I'm seeing that some of the people that you were talking to about getting backing were, I'm seeing industrialists, but also just people of a higher social standing and status, and that you found that intimidating. And it was like not fully in your power, sort of going, well, here's this fantastic idea, and it's so, but just like sort of, oh, well, will you look at this? So I'm seeing that was that thing about really believing in yourself and believing what you have to offer the world and what you have to offer other people is coming forward in this past life, and also coming forward in present time reality as something that you're really working on. I'll see if there's anything else to say. It looks like actually it was in the early years of the motor vehicle industry, and it looks like that's why I was looking at the penny farthing bicycle, because it looks like you were looking at ideas of locomotion and travel, and something just to do with it looks like cars and automobiles. So have we given enough past life information for Belinda? So really, you've got lots of power, lots of gifts, lots of energy, very capable, but what's preventing you from really moving forward with it is believing in yourself. completely and utterly believing in yourself, and therefore then embodying what it is that you're wanting to bring forward this lifetime. And while what you might be wanting to bring forward this lifetime might be a bit different than the lifetime that came up, I'm seeing that this creative element of being able to do things in a different way, or take ideas and tweak them and and come up with something new, is still within the realm of this lifetime. All right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question from Christine. It says, "Hi, what was the main occupation I did in my past lives?"
Well, thanks for that question, Christine. And before I look at that for you, in my experience, there may not be one. Because if you just think like how many past lives you might have had, if you had hundreds of past lives or thousands of past lives, you might have a string of past lives that focus on something specific. Let's make it up, being a healer, for example. But as an eternal, multidimensional soul, you're interested in, like many different aspects of reality. And so there could be more than one stream that you followed in your past lives, and there could be many different occupations. But what we'll look at for you is if there was a stream of occupations that relates directly to the current lifetime, something that you have a lot of experience with that would support something that you're doing in this lifetime. So let's look at it that way. And we're gonna look at the main spiritual growth cycle for you as well. And what I want to call this is interesting. I think that there have been some past lives in the more Eastern philosophical traditions, because what symbol that I'm seeing is a lotus flower. And I usually look at a rose because that's the Western symbol. But when I look at your rose, it turns into a lotus flower. But there's also this idea of the Eastern approach of it's sort of like meditation as a form of just emptying the mind and being empty, And I'm seeing you wanting to fill up the emptiness with something, and so it's the growth cycle. It's almost like, well, I breathed out, now I need to breathe in. I need to fill myself up with something, because life is it's a combination of being and doing, and I'm being, but what am I to do with my being? So I'm just seeing it's like this cup that is waiting to be filled, and it's waiting to be filled with your own energy and your own information. So let's see if we can see some past lives for you that relate, or a past life that relates to the current. I'm also seeing a relatively recent past life coming up for you, and we're asking for an occupation that's relevant to the current life. Well, this lifetime, to me, it looks like the late 1700s, and it looks like it's probably European, and you're a lady, you're a female body. And I'm seeing you're fairly well off, fairly well to do. And you, because I'm seeing sort of activities like there's horses, and you ride horses, and it looks like you love horses. It also looks like you have, on the grounds of the place where you live, there's a herb garden. And that you're very, very, you're interested in botany and plants, and also the healing properties of herbs, and the culinary properties of herbs. And so I'm seeing that this lifetime came up because there's an interest, it looks like the interest in the animals and the plants. So in the natural world, really, animals and plants is coming up. And it looks like you had a hobby of pressing flowers, and you collected different wildflowers, and you pressed them, and you put them in a book, and then you wrote notes about them. And when you had children, you taught your own children from your own notebooks. So you taught them the thing. So it's sort of like you're like self-taught to some extent in the things that most interested you, and and passed on that knowledge and information to your own children. So I'm seeing like a little bit of teaching as well, mixed into the mix. And so we do want to say that there's a thread about botany and herbs and healing for sure, an interest in that. So that's for Christine.
Great. Belinda, I just want you to know, thank you so much, Dr. Leslie. This makes so much sense. I'm definitely working on my faith in myself, and I hear the message constantly, believe in yourself.
Oh, good. I think maybe we'll go to a short break,
Sure.
and then we can do some more after the short break.
Sure. And
So,
if anybody has any questions on past lives or
Yep.
any topic in the metaphysical or spiritual world, if there's anything that you're querying or wondering about, just don't be shy. Ask away.
yeah, and I'll say the phone number for those listening live again, 604-504-7441, extension 4142, or email info@drlesliephillips.com. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. And on tonight's show, we have been talking about past life recall and how to consciously remember your past lives. And we're in the part of the show where we really just open up to you, the listeners, to ask your questions.
Yeah, we have a couple of things from Sky and Christine again. And Sky says, hello, Leslie. Thank you for the opportunity. Very drawn into the rose analogy.
Yeah. Well,
Don't nod at me.
So, thank you, Sky. And the rose is, I mean, it's basically the Western symbol for spiritual unfoldment. And in any lifetime, we go through many cycles of growth and change. And I'm sure that all of you listening are aware of that. You know, however old you are, if you look back on your life, there's been cycles of growth and change. And so the rose is used as a symbol just to look into where somebody is at in their particular cycle of growth and change. So if it's a rosebud, then it's near the beginning of a cycle. If it's a fully open rose, then it's towards the end of a growth cycle, for example. So it represents spiritual unfoldment. And also, you know, like the flower opening to the sun is akin to the, you opening to the divine. So thanks for that comment. And Corey, do we have another question from anyone?
Well, we have, if you give me 1 second, Dr. Leslie.
Sure.
Sometimes you can be a little assertive. So Sky says, oh yes, so much to learn from it. Different ways to learn from and for life. And now Christine says, great, thanks. She says, keep hearing the healer message in a transition period right now, so starting to explore it.
Great. Yeah, it looks like that's an area of relevance for you. Oh, yeah, and I see she says East makes sense and going to go back to Bali. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like you, in your Akashic record, there's a lot of experiences in the more Eastern philosophies and the Eastern spiritual systems. And so, yeah, going back to Bali, maybe that will help you open up a bit more to some of that.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything more from our friends on Facebook. So what I'm going to do is go to an email message.
Sounds good. And
see what we have there. Unfortunately, it's not about past lives, but it's from Pri in Pittsburgh, USA. And Pri says, my ex left me and I feel so stuck. What should I do?
Okay, well, let's take a look at that. Well, it looks like there's a lot going on to explain why you feel stuck. And let's see. It looks like one of the things that's happening is that I see a lot of invalidation in your space. And so I don't know whether it's because when he left you, it made you feel unworthy and not good enough and made you feel small. And of course, it's not true that you're unworthy and not good enough. But sometimes when instead of looking for validation and love from inside ourselves, we look from it outside of ourselves from other people, then that's what can happen. So that's the first thing I'm seeing, is just that it's like you're feeling stuck because you're not in touch with yourself and who you really are. And you're not in touch with your source and your higher guidance, but instead it's like caught in that lower vibration of unworthiness and low self-esteem. And so that's one thing. The other thing I feel is that there's a sense of two other things, actually. There's a sense of stuckness, partly because you've got some foreign energy in your space. So maybe there's some friends who are empathizing or sympathizing with you, or family members, and even your ex's energy. And I'm just seeing that all those other people with their own ideas of things makes things confusing. And then finally, I'm also just seeing it's like you had expectations of the relationship. And when those expectations didn't pan out, it's like, it just stuck because so you put your eggs in one basket, kind of thing. So the question was, why do I feel stuck, as opposed to how do I get unstuck? So that's the answer to why do you feel stuck, and how do you get unstuck is connect to your God, to connect to your higher self. Release the invalidation, release the foreign energy, let go of expectations, let go of all the past time energy about this ex, and heal yourself first, and then ask the universe to supply you with something better that would be more helpful and suitable for you.
That's lovely. So Sky has commented back again, so very interesting and strong messages. Thank you. A message I've received that I always go back to is following the rose to your heart. And then Sky says, I have a question. Question about past lives involving myself and my daughter intertwined. There's a healing path we're on. Wondering if there's a message for us and our path.
Okay, well, let's see if we can see a past life with you and your daughter together. Yeah, and I'll just validate the growth cycle that I see you in has to do a lot with love. Opening to love, unconditional love, and letting go of the past. And so I see that the growth is sort of like simultaneously happening in two directions. One is just opening to love, an expansion of love, expansion of self-love, expansion of the ability to unconditionally love and appreciate other people. At the same time, it just looks like you're really bringing up a lot of past-time stuff to release. Past-time stuff where the experience has been the opposite of love. Some experiences of being afraid and just letting go of just old past-time energy, so you can be in present time with where you're at right here, right now. So that's the growth cycle. And then let's take a look and see if we can see a past life where there's you and your daughter. And this one is about 40% of the way down your past life timeline. And I'm going to look and see. Well, it's funny, but what's coming up is Easter Island as a location, which is a kind of a cool and different location. And I'm seeing that you were of the native group of that island. I want to say Rapa Nui, but I don't know whether that's actually the name of the statues as opposed to the people. But I'm seeing that you lived there on Easter Island, and it looks to me like you were mother and daughter in that lifetime, in this exact same roles that you are now. So you're the mother and she's the daughter. And I'm actually seeing you be pretty close. I'm just going to take a minute to, I'm seeing you doing something or teaching her to do something. I'm not too sure what it is. So, well, it looks to me either that you were a healer or that you were thrust into a situation where what you were having to do was healing. And so I'm seeing that you're having to, it looks like your husband became ill and you were having to take care of him. And you were sort of enrolling your daughter's help to assist you in taking care of him. Because he was incapacitated, it meant that there was more of a burden on you to take care of things, and so you needed all the help that you can get. And I'm seeing she was pretty small, like about 6 even, and just it looks like you were showing her how to dress his wound and wash his wounds. It looks like he'd had some kind of accident, and I think he might have been a fisherman or something like that. But he'd had an accident, and he really was in a bit of bad shape. And and so in some ways, let's see. But I'm seeing that she was really interested and attentive, and even though that was a hardship at the time, and one might say, gosh, that's a lot for a little 6-year-old to handle, I'm seeing actually what it did was it opened her up to a passion that she had inside herself, and that when she grew up, she sought out, it looks like they had healer women, a bit like that they have on Hawaii, and she sought out the company of those people to learn from them. And so on the one hand, one might say that what a dreadful situation and what a big burden to lay on such a young child. On the other hand, it was designed that way on purpose, because she came into that life wanting to be a healer, and it started her on that path at a very early age. And so it looks like one of the things that she taught you was that she brought a sense of calm, just even at that young age, because she was so attentive to what she was doing. Her calm helped you to feel less upset by the situation.
Carolyn asked a question, but somehow I deleted it from my post information. I think you might have it there.
Oh, okay. Let me see if I can scroll down the questions.
Past lives. It goes along the lines of past lives and things that she did in a past life, and how does it affect her past lives today.
Okay, I see it. It says, does our soul have the same interest, purpose in our past lives, or do we evolve and change?
Yeah, that's the one. I don't know how sorry, Carolyn. I just slipped off of my...
Well, the answer to that is yes. Okay. That question perhaps has been asked from the sort of linear human mind. From the soul's perspective, all lifetimes are simultaneous creations that are being experienced and that are contributing to the expansion and growth of the soul. I hope that explains that. And then you said, I feel like I keep evolving, and I feel that I'm getting closer to this in this life to my purpose. And sorry, I can't see that.
May I give a quick reading of my past lives?
Oh, okay, very quick, because we're approaching the end of the show. Okay, let's take a look. Well, I see you at the very, very beginning of a new growth cycle right now. It looks very fresh and very new. And let's see what we say about that. You know, what I want to say to you is let go of trying to figure it out and relax into it and receive. Because it looks like one of the things that you do is you you attempt to sort of figure it out in your logical thinking mind, that actually holds you back, because that's an aspect of the physical body. And so I'm seeing that one of the things that you're learning about is to open up and receive. And when I say open up and receive, I just mean receive your light, receive your energy, receive your information. And so to me, it looks like one of the things that you're working on is body versus spirit. What's my body and what's me? What's truly me? The high vibration spiritual consciousness, and also choosing what aspect to create from. Because creating from the stream of consciousness that is you and your higher self, that is really going to put you on your path and following your purpose. And so in some ways, it's like you're learning to get out of your own way. And then if we very, very, very quickly look and step into a past life for you, actually what's coming up is a parallel life. You can have more than one life on the planet at the same time. So let's take a look. It looks like a relatively simple life somewhere in India in a female body. And it looks like in a rural area. It looks like a relatively pleasant life, but very simple, agricultural, rural. I just feel like I'm looking at rice paddies, really. And but I'm seeing that life is it looks peaceful, and it looks like there's sort of no expectations. It looks like it gives you an opportunity to experience just being mindful in the moment, peaceful, accepting, and just being present with what is. And it looks like that's coming up because it's different than the energy in you, which is in a way more about achieving or, pushing for development. And let's see. It just feels like that life's got some information for you to absorb. And really, it's about the receptivity of just simply being, patience, being, allowing, and receiving, as opposed to overthinking it. So that's what I'm getting. And we've got really no time left. We've got just 3 minutes to the end of the show. And so...
Yeah, well, Sky just put a note down, so I'll just read this. It'll take us almost to the end. So, wow, Leslie, thank you so much. Very strong connections in our lives now, as well as interest in occurrences. It correlates to other messages I'm receiving about love and shows me a purpose behind how and where we are right now and our path into the future. Many blessings. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This has been Dr. Leslie and Corrie, broadcasting on CIVL. In Unlocking Your Truth. And we are here every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 Pacific time. Sometimes we do a teaching and sometimes we interview someone. And you can listen to the show live on 101.7 FM, but you can also catch all the podcasts of the show by going to drlesliephillips.com. And we've got over 200 episodes because the show is over 4 years old now. And you can search on the podcast feed basically for any metaphysical, spiritual topic of interest, and you will find complimentary teachings available for you to listen to. So it's been our absolute pleasure to talk with you this evening about past lives, and we're glad to hear your feedback that you feel like you benefited from it. So we'll be back same time, same place next week. Bye for now.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesley PHILLIPS.com. That's drlesliephillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. You can also find the questions that were asked during this show at the website on our free card reading podcast page, where you'll find a full list of them. Come back again.